Heidi-ho, and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, just let your fingers do the walking. Leave a little 5-star review, just like this review from Josiah Miles. Wow, he's calling me the Barbara Walters of comedy. At the bizarre internet intersections of pornography and conspiracy theories, you can find her doling out practical advice, quips, and a certain reassurance to the huddled masses. Would recommend. Great review. Thank you so much, Josiah. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Cushy Dreams. They are my go-to for handling anxiety in these crazy ass times. Cushy Dreams offers a full lineup of premium smokable CBD. They specialize in extraordinary CBD-rich hemp flower, aka bud, that you see right here. Little buds in cans and pre-roll CBD joints. I personally really love the joints. They come in this chic little 5-pack that I'm all about. You just slip this little Betty into your purse and you just take one out. You know, maybe if you offer one to a cute man or something. For me, I just take a couple puffs and my mind and body feel relaxed. I really like the Dream one. I'll have a couple right before bed. But what I love about them is they have different indica sativa blends like Dream, Create, Energy, Hustle, Peace, Relax. So whatever you want to do with your day, if you want to be a little more up or you want to be a little more relaxed for bed, they got you. They got you, girl. You can enjoy all the health benefits of CBD without getting high. There's under 0.3% THC in all these products. It's cannabis that ships directly to you, and it's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. Again, looks, feels, smells just like high quality marijuana, but it's not. They take the artisan approach. Every run is in a small batch, 100% hand trimmed, never machine trimmed. And they're obsessed with purity and compliance. They're constantly doing lab tests, the results of which you can find on their website, cushydreams.com. Here's a little labs results section right here that you can go to if you have any questions. Best of all, it's grown here in the USA. So go to cushydreams.com, Kushy dreams.com, and get some high quality CBD bud. At checkout, use promo code CMP to get 20% off your order. That's every order, not even the first order. I love it, guys. I am a big fan of them. It kind of calms me down, and I feel cool. I get to smoke a thing. Yes, stand-up tour dates. My little domestic terrorist tour is continuing on. I think by the time this episode comes out, I will have left Oklahoma City. Yes, and okay, so when this comes out, you will be able to still come see myself and the guys from Compound Media, the comedians of the Compound shows. Will be in Austin, May 14th and 15th. So you can still get tickets available for that. I know they have weekend passes. There's like a karaoke party happening. There's a lot of events, but there's multiple shows this weekend in Austin that you can go to. And then if you're on the East Coast, come see me in Springfield, New Jersey at Scotty's Comedy Cove, May 21st and 22nd. Love it. Love you guys. Keep up the great work. All the fans that I've met so far and all the different shows. It's been a pleasure to talk to you and hang. So yes, I'm so excited to have this gal on the podcast today. Very inspired by her. She's got great energy, very high vibe. She is an actress. You may have seen her on the OC, Dirty Sexy Money, Stay Alive. She also, more importantly, very outspoken conservative. Happy to have her here on the podcast today. Samaire Armstrong, trying not to...
Well, you're so close. I know. It's so hard. It's so annoying. It's Samaire, but you're so close. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. It's so nice to be in an environment talking about this with such a joyful, spirited human being. I mean, thank goodness someone as brave as you is just so open and courageous about this. We need so much more of that, you know?
Thank you so much. Well, I think it helped that I didn't have much of a career to ruin. I just kind of was like knocking around in comedy for a while. Like I was pulling away from like the woke liberal, like hive mindset. So to me, I just went on this path because it felt right. And I feel like it's more nerve-wracking to be in Hollywood. you're booked on all these shows, movies, you're used to making a certain amount of money, and then it's like golden handcuffs.
No. Yeah, I think it's the probably exact same, and I think there's people universally through different various occupations who who have this. I could play by the rules and I can participate and I can get to the top, but something in me is cringing so hard at that process. I cannot be involved with it. And as you said, I just, I don't believe that had you not followed the rules, your comedic career wouldn't have been like at the top. Do you know what I mean? Like anyone can be a sellout. It's you know what I mean?
So easy.
It's so easy. There's a pattern you follow. You participate.
You know exactly what to do. You watch
steps to get. Yep. You emulate. You follow the rules, and you're there. But then there's people who instinctively just can't play ball. And for the hardest time, I had a struggle understanding why it was that. Why wasn't I at the top of the list? Right. Mm-hmm. Well, probably because I wouldn't mingle with these people, because many of them I found repulsive to be around. I wouldn't stay at their houses when invited. I wouldn't do all these things. And to me, it was like, what's the big deal? I just don't want to. And it was like, well, the big deal, it's do or die. You know what I mean? You get onto the Me Too movement, you get onto the this, you get onto the that, and participate. And it's like high school, as any industry, I think is. You kiss ass to the person in charge and you've made it. And that was the biggest first awakening I had within the industry. It was like, I'd go into my auditions and I'd do my job and I nail it, knock it out of the water. But I didn't talk to the casting directors because I didn't care about them. You know what I mean? It was like, do the job, get in, get out. And as I found out, it's like, no, you have to kiss their ass. How are you? How's it going? How's your day? They want that. And maybe that's a different way of saying be personal. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm scared to show them my stuff and then leave.
Right. And so it was like these stepping stones of like, okay, I'll play by the rules. And when I did, and I found this interesting balance of like, I don't really care about you and like what you require me to do. I'm going to do it my way with such enthusiasm that you can't help but like me. That's how I got the OC. That's how I got Dirty Sexy Money. That's how I got all of these jobs where it's like, I went in super respectfully and I wasn't really concerned about the outcome or what they thought of me. It was just like I was talking to a friend, and that made it different. I think maybe made it what stood out a little bit for me from others, because when I first got there, it was like, you're too tan. I'm from Arizona. I'm also like Sicilian, Spanish.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like Middle Eastern, like all. Yeah. So exactly. I look at the sun and I'm like a copper tone. I don't know what kind of. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So so I get to Hollywood and they're like, you're too tan, and you need to emulate Lacey Chabert, and I'm like, I know at least like I can get whiter, but like, what about the people who can't? Like, that is so messed up,
So what year was this that you were hearing that you were too tan?
99.
So this is before like woke culture, I feel like, devastated
it was
Hollywood.
When I first, right. I mean, well, it and as it turns out, Hollywood's always been devastated. but yes, it was
now
before.
You can't be tan enough, right?
Yeah. And it's too late. You're already considered white, so and I strived to be in a position where I could take roles that spoke to me, and I never quite got to that place. And especially like when you're on the path to getting there, they say you're supposed to strike with why the iron was hot. I was a young, naive, idiot 20-something-year-old, and if I tried to say no to certain things, it was like, you're never going to work again. And there were certain, like, there was just like not a lot of like opportunity for me to create and mold my career. And then I sort of just self-destructed in a lot of ways, which I maybe saw, I talked a bit about on the Kaya Jones thing.
We can talk more about that. That's what actually, like, that's where I first saw you, was on Kaya Jones's Instagram. And I just was like, I don't know, like both of you spoke to me. I was like, I just love the energy. And then the fact that you're a Hollywood actress. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, it's literally, it's you, it's Gina Carano and Kevin Sorbo. Everybody else is like zipped.
I know. And I think because I was on this sort of, so as I went through sort of the self-destructive phase, I figured out what was important to me, what was going to keep me alive, right? Healing and whatnot. And how important it was to speak my truth, right? And I sort of teetered in this, like trying to fit in and make it work, to the point where I was watching the world around us in Los Angeles set on fire, quite literally. And
you mean last summer?
Yeah. I couldn't be silent anymore. And and at that point it was like I had given my time and energy to Hollywood. I 2 years before, I actually fired the year before, in 2019, the last almost normal year, I let go of my managers and agents because they kept saying I'm white, I can't work, I'm white, and now I'm old and white. And it's like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like,
my God, you're still a babe.
I know, I appreciate that, but I just know that's just laziness on their end, and politics and the woke, whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna find my own way to do this. I started making YouTube videos, like really silly things with my buddy. We made this project called The Devil's Right, the Devil May Care, which in hindsight is really creepy because it was about making a contract with the devil to like get back a boyfriend. And it's just a silly comedy.
So Hollywood, yeah.
Yes, so Hollywood. And so, especially now that all the things I'm hearing about Hollywood is like satanic cults and all this stuff, and I'm like, whoa, that's weird. I mean,
what do you make of all that? Like, did you ever you were in Hollywood. How many years would you say you were like fully entrenched in Hollywood? Like the OC must have blown you up. It must have been
the OC blew me up, and that's the problem that I have a hard time like understanding, is because like I was around a lot of weird people, like a lot, and in that self-destructive mode, I went through some weird phases and got myself into weird situations, and primarily just hanging out with people who were just odd behavior, I never caught wind of a satanic pedophilic cult. Never.
You weren't at that level yet. You were.
I guess not. And I was talking to my friend who is also in Hollywood for many, many years, and I was like, did you ever come across this? And he's like, I didn't, but I was never into swinging. So I think if you go through these stages, if you get to the swinging level, and then you get to the this and this, and
if you're okay with this, then what else? Right. If you're okay with super open relationships, then you maybe get invited to go to Epstein Island.
Right, exactly. And so, and the thing is, and I've said this before, is like we all knew Ellen DeGeneres was a bitch. We all knew Harvey Weinstein was a predator. We all knew everyone played into that predatorhood to get jobs. And so there are these certain elements that we knew consciously, we never talked about. It's just what life was. And I never got the wind of, we all knew that there was this pedophilic, child, whatever.
Because if it's so horrible, and it's like you also can't trust everybody with that information.
And people when they're loaded and out and hanging out into the dark depths of the evening, they slip, they say things. And I've been around a lot of people that have been in this sort of circle that has been highlighted in this moment of what's coming up. Like I was friends with a lot of people who have been coming up recently, and I never heard them slip about. But this is the other thing.
Interesting.
My friend and I moved out of Los Angeles. I'm in Arizona now, and we were talking, and she moved to Nashville, and she's like, there were so many things that happened that we just thought were normal, but in hindsight, we're not. So like one time we were in Vegas, and a friend of mine who's an actor said, call downstairs for some Filipino boys. And I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a joke. You know what I mean? But was it? I don't know. So those are the things
hard to confuse that with something else. You know what I mean? It's like, what else could that be?
Exactly. And that's like so abstract in my thinking in terms of like, who makes that leap from like hanging out with your friends to like Filipino boys? Like, where do you even get that information? You know what I mean? Like, how? Like, why is that on your consciousness? But at the time, again, like, it was just like, ha ha ha. That's so.
People joke about, especially as a comic, like people joke about things that are actually going on in their lives.
Yes,
you know, and like any comedic set, or like even if somebody joking at a party, like sure, some of it could be exaggerated, but I feel like there's often a nugget of truth.
And that's the thing, because it has to come from somewhere, you know, like because that's not on my radar, I just would have never said that. But if I would say involved in it or researching it, or, you know, I don't know, so, any aspect in my realm, it could potentially come out of me. So that, you know, hindsight looking back, and 2000, probably like 18 to 19 to 20, I started getting really interested in like this. I heard about, you know, Hillary Clinton, and I just like, I'm one of those people who I if I don't see it, I can't believe it, you know, outside of like the universal spirit and God, like outside of that,
right?
Like,
you're talking about that like, yeah, without getting this demonetized, that certain video, that people, that certain cops couldn't like they watched.
Yes, totally. And so you know, I've got people who say I've seen it, it exists, and I still can't, like, I need to see it. I have to see it to believe it. But all that being said, as you mentioned, it doesn't come from nowhere. There isn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't just, that information doesn't just get spread from nowhere. There's some seed, at least, of reality to what's going on. So yeah,
when you mentioned before, like, you just, you know, you out the gate in Hollywood, you're kind of expected to like hang more. Is that more with like your peers, or is it more like with industry folks, like the casting directors, or like the people that are on the?
Yeah, not so much. More the peers. So like, you know, I said this, and I don't actually know where I said it, but essentially, and I'm sure you get this, like, two big comedians make a superstar comedian, right? Two in Hollywood, it's like two celebrities dating, or a best friend celebrity. Like, you get superstars, like supernova like status,
double the attention, everything.
And so that was like, you'll see a lot of that, and you'll see people who. I mean, I hate to say this, but I have found very one-dimensional human beings within that industry, and I don't know what that's about. There's also some very wonderful people within that industry, but I was so uncomfortable around the inhumane quality of human being that I didn't really keep friends who were in the industry, and I had a few. But they also were sort of on that, like, yeah, we're cool, you know, to the world of it.
Like they only, it makes sense, because like with the acting and comedy, like it's a very like attention seeking gig, you know what I mean? Like it's likely that you're going to get a lot of people that are just doing it for attention, validation.
Right. And there's so many narcissists. There's so many people with like the most blatant insecurities. And I mean, the men are basically undateable, no offense to anyone, but you know, it just like, I don't know, it's a weird I want to say like mentally ill or emotionally ill driven industry, you know,
for sure. And then there's a huge section of both comics and actors. They're like, we've both met these people that are like, you know, their number one goal is to get as famous as possible, and every decision is a factor of that.
Exactly that. And I remember having this great publicist. She was a young publicist. She took me on for free, and we sort of broke the mold, as it were, in this like youthful demographic of publicity and an actor. And she goes, you know, you have to go to this thing, you have to do this if you want to be famous. And I'm like, but I don't want to be famous. I just want to do cool roles. She's like, you won't do cool roles if you're not famous. It was like such a gut punch, you know. It was like, you have to be on that trajectory for celebrity. Just the industry, it works that way. No one's going to put you on the top of the list if they don't know who you are. It doesn't matter how good of a character actor you are, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, that makes sense. Wow.
But yeah, so all that being said, with all of that in my consciousness and what I was weighing the balance of, and how I saw the United States on fire and the woke culture destroying absolutely everything. And I have friends in Venezuela who are like, this is what has happened to our country, is is happening to yours. And BLM is a domestic terrorist organization, and they've come to Venezuela to meet with our dictator, and they're friends. Like, it's like, okay, there's a lot of holes in this thing that they're actually fighting for, Black communities. I don't buy it. Where's the money going?
Yeah, it's that one lady who has multiple mansions, and like, there's not enough outrage about that, especially from Black people. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, I actually, I don't know. What is it? There's an Instagram called The Shade Room. The Shade Room put it up, and that woman, she got slammed on there from people like,
okay, good.
She really did. Yeah. So, so that's why I started speaking out, and immediately I went to, I thought I was going to be the only one in Hollywood. You think you're like, I'm
very
like,
scary, because were any of your friends, were you talking to any of your like Hollywood buddies about this? Anybody else seeming conservative?
They were not conservative. I got a lot of information from a liberal friend of mine who I no longer speak to, because when I started speaking out, they're like, "You're making an ass of yourself. You don't know what you're talking about."
That's
I'm like,
how it goes.
So, but no, I did not have any conservative friends that I knew of. After I came out, a bunch of my friends who I'd known for like decades were like, "Me too," like I am too.
Quietly.
Like, I can't believe you're saying.
Like,
yes, totally. So. Wait, what was I saying?
So we were talking about like how and this is like it's a brave thing to even think about, like the idea of peeling away from the herd, okay. When did you start hearing like you're too white? Like when, because I'm sure that was part of it. Like, this isn't even worth playing this game anymore because I'm too white to get booked.
Yes, totally. So that started, I remember I had a son in 2012, and I was on a show for 2 years after that. Right after, when we got back from Atlanta, and so I guess this was 2015, it was like there's like this whole movement towards diversity right now. It'll peter out. China doesn't like this. China doesn't like diverse, so this will peter out.
Right.
And it didn't peter out. And
how much of what you observed, like, did it seem like, what was China's influence over Hollywood, just from what your friends and you talked about?
China is the money aspect, and I wouldn't say it was friends that I heard this from. This is directly from my manager, who doesn't talk to me anymore either. But he said, China essentially funds a lot of things, and also they buy. The projects are redistributed to China after they've made their runs, or as they're making their runs in the United States. China, as you know, has millions and billions of people, right? I'm not even sure how many billions of people.
Too many.
Too many. A very large number of people, and so that's the demographic that they've been catering towards and appealing to, because there's so much money there. They get the money up front, they get the money in the back end. So it's all money driven. And the point that my manager was making was the Chinese government, they're racist. They are actually racist, and they don't like diversity. They only like white, right? From America anyways.
Right.
And so which is interesting, because they back major league, not major league, but basketball, or it's a weird, I think it's not even so much as right before, it might have been a preference, and now it's just control to take down America, whatever means
whatever
necessary.
works. Yeah
And so that was the message, right? And as I was playing along and hearing that over and over again, my liberal producer friend was saying it in his industry, my friends were saying it in the crew industry, my other friends in directors were saying it. Everyone was getting hit by this. It didn't no longer matter what the story was, what your talent capability was. It was, what was the color of your skin, and what was your background, what was your ethnicity.
And this started really coming into focus like 2015.
I would say. Yeah.
Really apparent. Yeah.
So when I spoke out, people obviously reached out immediately. And there was a friend of mine, Chris Paul, who was a nightclub promoter in Hollywood for years. He probably knows more Hollywood people than I'll ever know, because of the industry that he was involved in. Yeah. He actually had to hang out with these people. Do you know what I mean? Like, they went to the nightclubs.
You have to care.
Yeah. And he was always the smart, decent, level-headed guy. He was educated. He was a writer, and he had voted for Hillary Clinton, and then started when Trump took office. He was like, why would that have happened? And started researching and realized, oh my God, everyone's lying. She's evil. The media is disrupting everything that he's saying, and I'm for Trump, and he got on board, and he started getting really outspoken too before I did. And so he and I were put in touch with each other. And then at the same time, because of the draconian measures that Newsom was exhibiting because of the flu season, this that he named COVID.
The fancy flu, yeah.
Yeah, the fancy flu. I went to a Recall Newsom event. It was just like 5 of us, and we stood outside of Air One on Beverly, and we just asked for signatures. We'd like to, we're collecting signatures for a recall for the government because of his overreach in tyrannical government. And we were greeted with both Democrats and Republicans agreeing, yes, get him out of here. And at that was like, that was probably like the 3rd or 4th post I put up. I was flagged by, and I just found this out months and months later, through Judicial Watch, who did an expose on it in conjunction with using the Freedom of Information Act. They requested through the California state government information regarding silencing people. And they got pictures, photos, like screenshots of communication between the state, the government, the Secretary of State, and Instagram.
Oh,
yeah, to silence, take down this post of Samaira's, and it's misinformation, and it will affect the outcome of the election.
So this is before Trump ran for the second term. It sounds like you were among.
This was in the midst of his running.
This sounds like you were among the first people involved in like the recalling Gavin kind of movement.
I might have been. It was September. I don't know. Actually, I know at that point when I met with the people, they had already been doing it in Long Beach, and they were. But it hadn't gotten the steam that was. I don't know. Something just happened. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. That it finally ended up with. But so as it turns out, they. So Chris Paul was on the post. My buddy Siaka was on the post, and Siaka in the post is saying that, to check your voter registration, because Governor Newsom has made all the voter registrations into mail-in ballots, which a judge said, that is, I have an article, the judge calling Newsom's overreach out for that exact thing, which is why we said it. And we were just like talk out of our butts, to be like, idiots out there. So that's a big thing that's happening, going on, and that probably like the silencing, squashing of First Amendment rights by the government working with big tech is not a new story, but now we have evidence of it actually having occurred.
Yeah. Oh, I learned all about that too. This was a while ago, but I was doing an interview with some folks from Project Veritas. I think, it was James O'Keefe and like a couple other people who work with him. Maybe it was like Zach McElroy. I forget the name, but yeah, it was stunning to see the proof and these like videos of the folks that work at Facebook just blatantly admitting to like, yeah, we delete conservatives. We're very much censoring anything pro-Trump, and like would happily do it. Like saw it as a patriotic duty that they were shutting down anybody pro-Trump. And they're like, yeah, we got to get the little guys because the big guys are harder, and it's more noticeable. So, I mean, they eventually took out Trump, but, so, wow, this is so interesting. And all the while you're kind of, waking up to the realities of it, are you, I spoke about it a little bit, but were you getting a lot of, it seems like, losing friends, backlash all the way?
And in my adult life, after I got into the recovery era of my existence, right? Like recovering Hollywood actress, yes, totally. I made it a point to be of service to people. I mean, that's basically how I, didn't slaughter myself, right? Like the self-destruction button is off when you are in a constant mode of being of service to other people. And so I gave a good decade of being like a stand-up human being to help people through their challenges in life. And of course, as soon as I come out as a conservative, these people are like, peace, you know, remember all those nights I spent crying on your shoulder, like, okay, bye, you know, and it was like, good riddance. I didn't want to do that anyways. You know what I mean? Like,
those people can't truly be your friends. Yeah.
No, they can't. And it was like, you know, I don't have any ill feelings towards them. It was actually quite a relief to not have to carry the burden of other people's existence anymore. And like what I found was, and I'm sure you found, what started coming around me was like the most rad, awesome people who had guts, who had courage, who had character, who didn't give a shit, who just was like so about the country, so about the Constitution, so about like correcting what was right, and like being really bold in how they were saying, no, you're a woke idiot and this is why, you know. And like I admire that, you know. I admire the people who are like, because we need reality. Like I need reality, you know what I mean? I spent way too many years in this fake echo chamber reality, and so hearing like truth is just the most satisfying, fulfilling experience, and I crave it deeply in friendship, and I'm getting it. I'm surrounded by greatness at this point.
That's good. And I saw recently, before reaching out to you, you had done a video or a couple of videos with Prager U, just talking about like Hollywood favoring quotas, and that they're not about talent or quality. It's all about just like virtue signaling. When did they reach out to you to work with them?
So that was shortly after I spoke out. Siaka, he had his Instagram handle is Chief in the Americana, and he had been. So as it turns out, he and I had known each other for quite a while, and we hadn't seen each other for a while. We went through like several transformations of character and humanity in the period of time, and then there we are, like fighting for, you know, our state. And so he had somehow been put in contact, I think, with Candace Owens, his manager. What's her name?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I can't think of it.
She's on Instagram. She's a total badass.
She's great.
Yeah,
Gina something. Yeah.
So she had put him in contact, and since, you know, we were in the same industry, he was like, you need to talk to her as well. And it was, I had no expectations of it. I didn't really know when it would come out, but what the feedback and the response has just been universally like, thank you so much for saying that. And I think that, you know, the thing is, I didn't come out of the closet guns, you know, blazing, so to speak. I went when the George Floyd propaganda rolled out. I was on board with it, and I was protesting, and I was like, you know, appalled at what happened to the Black people are being persecuted and attacked, you know, and then they're like, but now defund the police, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on, what do you mean?
That's gonna help,
yeah. And so I started researching, and I think a lot of people did that, right? A lot of people were like, okay, I'll post a black square. This is terrible. I agree, you know,
black square.
And then it's like, wait, but the people advocating for the black square are also the people who are destroying the state. Like, can we talk about that too? And they're like, no, shut up, you know. So
can we talk about the actual stats? That's actually more white people get shot by cops. No,
not that. No facts. So when I presented it in that way, it was a journey that I think many people have taken, right? And I don't care if you call me racist, because I know I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing you could piece together possibly that would make it appear that I was, other than your deluded perception of what racist means nowadays. And I'm not buying into your vocabulary of new language. I won't do it.
It's lost all meaning. Like all of these insults, racist, white national. It's like,
yeah.
Anybody with cargo shorts can be a Trump supporter. You know what I mean? It takes nothing. It takes like.
But the thing too was, when I came out as a Trump supporter, I knew more diverse people who were Trump supporters than even white people who were Trump supporters. So it was, you know, clear as day at that point. So I moved out of Los Angeles because I have an 8-year-old, and I wanted to give him a life in California, or others call it California.
California, that's great.
Was not the thriving experience that I wanted to provide for him. And I was really hopeful moving out here because I grew up out here. I went to high school out here, and and immediately I got here, and like everyone's still wearing masks, and you know, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not freedom, you guys. Like,
you mean in Arizona?
In Arizona.
Yeah.
In
Whoa.
Arizona. And so, for the longest time, I just wouldn't. And I actually didn't get any like Karens or anything telling me to put my mask on. I don't know what it was, but they just
the looks you get. I don't wear a mask on the New York City subway either. And then just like, it's because it's not the person you expect. It's me and crackheads are the people who don't. And then like, obviously my other awake friends. But like, people are just like, you know, they don't say anything, which is great.
Yeah,
like,
oh, that's good. Oh, you're lucky. In California, you'll if you walk out the door without a mask, you'll hear it. But then as it turns out, eventually I got involved with, you know, participating in making a request to see our governor out here, he's a coward, but whatever. To lift the mask mandates. Eventually he lifted the mask mandates, but he didn't lift it for our kids at our schools, which
that's just wild. And they're the least risk.
Yes. And that sent a burning rage inferno inside of me. And I sat on it for a while until one day my son got sent home because he didn't want to wear a mask. And he's like, it's my body, it's my rights. I don't even know where he got that from.
My body, my choice, right? Let's bring that back. Yeah.
And so I just immediately went to the school board and I was like, look, here's the information. Like, this is potentially very physically and psychologically damaging. Here's information showing that adults don't get it from kids. Here's the information showing kids don't get it. And, you know, presented all these facts. Well, these people don't like facts. These people are bureaucrats, administrators. They're not even in the school. The teachers want them off. You know, there are some I'm sure that want them on still, but the facts don't show the need for it. And what happened was, I finally kept writing them letters. They kept shooting it down. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to raise my child with co-parenting with the school board. My son's going to school with no mask. So for the past 3 days, I've sent him with no mask. I told him too, when they shut me down, when they shut me down at the school board meeting the following day, I said, or a few days later, I was like, just FYI, until you change your mind, I'll be protesting every day outside at pickup. And I'm new to town. I don't know anyone here really. And I was like, I'm just going to do it myself. You know, it starts with one person and more moms have been joining in.
That's fucking great.
The other, and so many moms and the leverage we have here. And if anyone's watching this and they have children, like the leverage is if you don't have kids in school, they can't operate. They don't have the money to stay open. So if you get enough parents that can just make it to the tipping point where they're going to be screwed basically without you being there, that's the leverage you have. And that's why with even 3 weeks left of school, I was like, this is the time to strike. You know?
Cool. And wow.
I had a father come up to me. I don't know. You're not on Instagram, so you didn't. Or maybe you are.
Instagram. You are, okay. I know that I like very much like. I'm like a Twitter person.
On Twitter. Yeah. Yes.
I am gonna get more on Instagram. I mean, my first Instagram was nuked, so now I'm just like, because I you know was a little. Yeah. I posted something not state approved, so you know.
Oh, exactly. So on my Instagram the other day, basically, I was out there protesting. It's the easiest protest. It's like from 2:45 to like 3:15. You know what I mean?
Signs? Do you like?
I literally have happy smiley face signs and says "Make mask a choice" and like happy, colorful. I'm the least intimidating people out there. And this person comes up on I think it was Monday, and he starts heckling me. I lost my mind. Knowing what's happening in Venezuela, knowing what's happening in Colombia, knowing what's happening in Canada, knowing what they're trying to do with the vax passports and control the United States and destroy the farm industry, it just all came to a critical mass point. And I was like, you have no. Like,
was this another parent or just a random person?
It was another parent. He's like, why don't you just wait another 3 weeks? What's the big deal? What's the big deal?
Just another 3 weeks. It's just another 2 weeks. It's just another.
Exactly. I was like, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and we're at a year. I was like, you should be out here with me. And then, of course, the police are called. And it just like turned into this whole thing. But yeah, so that's what's interesting was I didn't know anyone in the community. And now I know all these people because I made an ass of myself, essentially. All these people who are like, thank you so much for standing up. We want to fight with you.
That's great. It takes one person to be a leader, and then you will get people to follow you. But a lot of people are scared to be a leader. Yeah.
And you know what are they scared of? You know what I mean? What's the fear? We're already in the fear zone. Like the fear, we have reached it. You know what I mean? Like our rights are going away. And people are like, what rights do we have? Like, can you go outside without, can you say anything you want? No, those are supposed to be our rights. And the government wants to micromanage our existence. And that's not what America is about. And the government is the biggest bad guy of all. And I don't get you. I'm sure your viewers all agree or think are on this wavelength. Otherwise, they probably have turned that off by now and start DMing me what an idiot I am. But, how anybody could be so naive to think that this big government cares, big pharma cares, the Democratic Party cares. Nobody, even for that matter, I don't even know if the Republican Party cares. I know as a conservative, I care about my constitutional rights and everything that anyone has ever sacrificed to put those rights in place and keep them there. That's what I care about. And I think if you're operating from that and you're not like holding on to like, I'm a Republican, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a constitutionalist. I'm individual rights and all for the government staying out of my existence. It's pretty simple. Like and that was the biggest issue that I was like, so like dumbstruck by. My mask signs, they say mask choice. It's not mask, take your fucking mask off.
Right. You're not forcing anybody to do what you want to do, which is what they're doing.
Yes, it should be my choice. But people actually believe, no, you don't deserve a choice. You need to do what we say. You
have to be polite. You have to be, it's like,
we have polite. Oh my God! In my
it's like really, if that's true, let's make condoms mandatory. Let's take all cancer-causing
diet mandatory. Yeah, exactly. Make actually exercising mandatory. Why are we not addressing? Everyone wants this quick fix, magic bullet as a solution. That's not life. That's just not life. It's never been life. It's easy. It's the easy way out, but it's not how it works. And you think that a mask over me is going to save you. There's something mentally challenged with your thinking if you think that's
and the
that's
propaganda
reality.
In New York City is so similar. It's control, like thinly masked, no pun intended, as politeness. Like you have to do it. You have to do it for your neighbor. It's like,
yes, I said to that troll, I was like, this is not a polite society, and I'm not here to make you feel comfortable.
Good for you. Good for you. Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. The fight will go on. This is gonna, it's gonna continue. Critical race theory is going to, be embedded, try to be embedded into our school systems if it's not already. I mean, it's nonstop, and people really just need to. I mean, everyone's like, oh, we're living a movie. This is like a video game, and we're like the real life players of it. And
I like that. Because that's like we have control, where it's a movie you're just watching, you have no power, but people forget how much power they have.
Yes. And to me, when I was developing as a human being and a young child, in those developmental years, and I watched the movie, like one of my first favorite movies was Aliens with Sigourney Weaver and Sarah Connor in Terminator. And then, you hear these characters in history and you're like those are epic people. Obviously they are not real people, but stuck up. That's a character of that's a human being who has like grit and compassion and like perseverance. And I want to be that person in my life. In this historical moment, you know what I mean? And any of us can be that person right now. It's like, we heard about what happened in Nazi Germany. We've heard about what happened in the Soviet Union. We heard, we were educated in these things. And, oh, my light just went out. And now
you're good. It looks the same.
Yeah. No, it does. Okay. And now it's our time to step up to the plate and put on like what that character is in this historical moment. Are you
what are you gonna wait till they're putting people on trains? Because then it's too late.
Right. And if people don't think that that's the road we're heading, just start looking into it. And there was this great video I have on my Instagram. I have this 33-minute video in the highlights. It says watch daily or share daily. And it is a woman from Austria who lived through Nazi Germany's regime. And she's talking it's play by play of what happened and how the massive takeover happened. And it was a polite takeover is what it was.
Oh, wow. It was polite.
It was a polite takeover. We're going to help you. We're going to make your life better. We're going to, yes, right there. Share daily. There it is. Right in that, that highlight right
this
there.
One. Oh.
Yep.
Okay. I have to be logged on, but
So, and it's a 33-minute she's so wonderful. She shares, the similarities are jarring, and I don't know, with that education, it's like you won't be able to back down. You won't be able to get along. You just won't.
Yeah, it's for so many people, it's like, well, it's not affecting my life yet, really. And by the time it is really affecting your life, it's way too late to do anything.
Too late.
Even if you're like, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, let's just get along. Let's not make waves. It's not that big of a problem yet. But the fact that it's encroaching at all is a problem.
Right. And I think a lot of people are like, how do I get involved? And it's like, for me, and I imagine for a lot of adults, it's like, it's kind of hard to stand up for yourself. But if you care about children, or if you have a child, that's a whole different ballgame. And that's where you can get involved. Get these masks off our kids. There's no reason for them to wear them. And we're teaching them that laws and rules apply. They don't need to make sense. You just need to follow the rules for everyone else to feel comfortable. It's the worst education that you could give a child, not to mention the windows of opportunity of brain development that occur at specific ages. So if you're being like, you can't hear your teacher, you can't see their facial expressions. My son pled his case to the school board and was like, I can't tell if my friends are happy or sad. I can't tell if I need to help them or not. Like, I can't see what's happening. Can you imagine that every single day?
You can't even see if a kid is crying, you know?
Exactly. I had a mother write me and say, my son fell and hurt his back so bad. Nobody knew because he had his mask on. He was in so much pain. And the kids were afraid to go help him, even though they saw it, because they were told to be social distancing all the time. So they didn't run to his aid. And then you hear all these like bacterial pneumonias, sinus infections, styes. There's issues with gums. Dental issues now are going up like significantly.
Really?
I mean, there's just too much information out there to force these kids to just, I'm not there during the day. I don't really see it.
It's because they're the easiest to control. It's so disgusting. It's
our future.
Horrible.
So you control them. You're
imprinting them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, good for you. I mean, like, that really does take balls. It takes balls to be the first person, especially when it's one thing to like, be an online warrior and like tweet, but like to actually physically put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Takes a lot.
I think, you don't have to like I'm on a corner. Not a lot of people could see me. I could think of a zillion reasons why I shouldn't do it, but just taking that first step will break way to like so many other things.
And I bet like the other moms and dads that have joined you like have become great allies and friends.
Great. Yeah. Yes. Great allies. Yes, absolutely.
I was going to ask you if you were like inspired at all by Gina Carano, but it sounds like you and her have been kind of going through similar stuff at like kind of the same time.
Yeah. Gina Carano came out, she was exposed really.
Rather than pulling back like you were doing.
Right. And I think I wouldn't say exposed, but she was towing the line for a long time, and you got to do that. And I think what was significant about her is that she is in the middle of a top television show that everyone was watching. So that's a pretty darn big deal, especially for her to continue like putting those seeds of information. I don't know if you watched the Daily Wire interview with her though, with Ben Shapiro. She's like, I just didn't really know that it was that big of a deal. I was like, Gina, you know it was a big deal. Like, give me a break. You know what I mean? I admire her. If it was naivete and she really didn't know, I don't know. But I do admire the fact that she did it,
Or maybe she undervalued her impact. Maybe she thought that she wasn't being out there enough.
Maybe. I admire anyone who is willing to. I have another friend who's an actress. I've known her since she was like 13, and now she's a mom with 2 children and another one on the way. And she wasn't this idea to like say something. What's the word?
Oh, like, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Controversial?
Like, controversial. Yeah. She just matter of factly said, no, I don't wear masks because we all wear masks and then we all got COVID anyway. So
yeah. What are you going to say to that?
Yeah. And so there are these people out there who are subtly dropping these things, and you can tell, you can see on their posts that they're like, hey, I'm learning how to shoot, or I'm learning how to use the gun, and they have to, there's everyone needs a different specific approach to their own personal life, right? You shouldn't just go kamikaze on your job because that's what everyone's supposed to do.
Because you got to provide for your family, and also it's like everybody, I always compare it to the Care Bear stare, right? Like all the Care Bears line up with their different colors, but they're all pointing at the same thing. And I think that's what we're doing. It's like, if you can reach one person in the way that you can, you've made a huge difference.
Yes. And even, I will say, even supporting someone who's speaking, hey, you're doing such a great job. And you don't have to do that to me. I'm not saying that.
Right. But that can be privately. Yeah.
Yeah. What I've experienced is those messages. I met some moms out here. I haven't even met them in person, but Sedona's like this weird hippie, like woo type of place.
Yes, people like to meditate and do mushrooms.
And so like I didn't really think I'd get a lot of support from that community, but that community is all about individualism, empowerment. And I got these messages, and she's like, I know I'm not doing much. It's just a ding. And I was like, you have no idea how impactful this ding is. Like, this ding will keep me going. It will trigger other people around you, the people that you're around, to like, be like, why did she say that? I wonder if there's anything to that. Each person has so much impact, and not in the like every vote counts, because obviously that doesn't, right? Like,
even when you're dead, it counts. Yeah.
But like the actual existence and experience, it really is this powerful butterfly effect. We're waking people up left and right, giving courage to people to be informed with the information, to come forward and be like, no, you're not talking in reality. This is not real. There is not 63 genders. You know what I mean? Like, and by the way, I'm all for the trans community. Like, more power to trans. I have friends who are trans. They don't need all the letters of the alphabet to prove that they're a human being. They don't lead with that. That's just another way to politicize through identity and control people.
Right.
And that's the whole point. It's about individuals. It's about individual experiences. It's not about, mob mentality, scaring people into behaving and thinking and speaking a certain way. This is how I feel, so you need to change your language. No, I don't care about your safe space. Go away. Back up. And
they don't realize it. If it was the tables were turned and like whatever thing, I mean, I don't know, like you got to wear jewel tones because that makes me feel better. Like, people never think like, oh, what if it was turned around? Like, what would you have to do to make them feel comfortable? It's like, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Right. There was this video of like this I want to say communist. I don't know what it was, but it was like this, where you go and you give speeches, right? And the whole thing was filled with people with various different like identity politics. And it's like, I need you to not clap because I'm sensory overloaded. So can you please just wave your hands? And, like the person who was at the podium at the time was like, being berated by this you identified the audience in pronouns, and not all of us identify as that. And she's like, okay.
Oh God.
Like
you can't even make any progress. Yeah.
Right. It's like it's just so unrealistic. It's like, we don't, and this is my thing. I don't America doesn't negotiate with terrorists. And that's just the bottom line. America doesn't negotiate with mental illness. We have compassion towards it. We treat it with respect and kindness, but we're not going to play by your mental illness. And on a personal level, if I was with someone and they asked me to say, whatever, call me a unicorn, I would call them a unicorn. I would. I don't have a problem with that. You know what I mean? Like, but in the mass push of how society is supposed to behave, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah. It's really gross. It's right, because on a personal level, a friend, please call me a unicorn. Of course. Yes,
totally.
But it's
like,
whatever
you want. You're my friend, or even if you're not, you're an individual. I care about your experience, but there's a line. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna ignore it because you have feelings.
Yeah, it's like the group is so much more important than the individual. Broad strokes and like it's gross. We're so tired of it.
And that's communism to a T. The Marxists have made their point.
Right. And they were very smart in getting a lot of us to kind of police each other. You know, if the Karens can yell, and Karens come in all genders, colors, shapes, sizes. If they can, if you can be bullied with a camera phone in your face to put your mask back on, like, well, then that makes that person's day. Well, say, fuck that person.
Did you see that Karen who's going out there doxing people's Instagrams?
Who was it? Was she with the woman with glasses? Yes, yeah. I think I want to try to talk to that girl that was on the flight that she doxed her out.
Oh yeah, do that. You should. Yeah.
Oh, I even tweeted about it. I'm like, how to tell if a woman's not having any sex.
Oh, that's right. I saw that.
I'm like, that's.
Oh wait, one of my favorite tweets of yours was normalize ignoring celebrities. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Oh my god. But that's you though. No.
I mean, I guess I really don't think of myself as that. But also, sure, ignore me. You know what I mean? Like, don't just listen to me because I've been on the OC. God forbid you listen to me because of that reason. You know what I mean?
That was really primarily inspired by Chrissy Teigen. So yeah. And
God.
Yeah. And Bill Gates is a celebrity. It's just like, come on. These people are not more important than your own common sense.
Right, exactly. Like Bill Gates' word means more than Joe Rogan's, even though Joe Rogan has actual like human experience with contact and ideas and information, and Bill Gates have just been propagating his agenda for the last. But Bill Gates has more authority over medicine.
I don't know. Who seems healthier to me? Joe Rogan seems healthier, like overall, mentally, physically.
Joe Rogan's had like exchange of information. You know, Bill Gates is just like, this is how it is. Like, I'm not going to respect someone who behaves like that. There's no room for
nobody's listening to Bill Gates's podcast. No, I mean, I think he does have one. I think he did one with this actress. Maybe it's like not going anymore, but I looked at it came up and I was like, ugh. And I'm like, nobody's listening to this propaganda. It's gross. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with taking advice from wherever you want to take advice. It's your life, man. And so what if people die from listening to Joe Rogan? Like, isn't that furthering their depopulation agenda? So it's like, who do you? I've already screwed this whole episode.
No. Yeah, I mean, there's so many wild things out there. It's weird that as time went on, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, and I watched Plandemic, I think it was, right? And like Fall of the Cabal and like all these things.
Me too. What was it called? Out of Shadows. I watched all of those.
Yeah. And so I said to my mom, I'm like, Mom, Bill Gates is going to make this vaccine and this is going to be worse. And she's like, no, Samaire, like, chill out. Like, stop watching this stuff. And then he came out with the vaccine, and there was like push, and it was like, oh my God, this is real. She's like, this is real. This is real. Yeah. And I don't know what I don't know what his agenda is. If it's population control, it seems like there's a lot of signs pointing to it being population control. I have a good friend who I was really slow to post information on the vaccines because that's such a personal decision. I didn't want to make anyone feel bad. I do care about people's feelings. You know what I mean? I didn't want to make anyone feel bad, and I didn't have all the information, so I didn't share a lot of stuff. And I do have some friends around me who like probably would have benefited from it. I got a call from a girlfriend just a few days ago saying that she had a miscarriage, and I said she's been having lots of clotting, and I said, I've been hearing a lot of stuff about people who've either been vaxxed or around people who are vaxxed who are having those exhibiting those same signs. And she goes, I just got the vax 2 weeks ago. I'm like, why? Why? You're so healthy. Why do you? 99.8%, that's the survival rate of this influenza COVID thing. And why would you put experimental anything into your body? Look, I'm all for experiments. I like Botox. I like, I did fillers in my 20s.
I've taken mushrooms.
I did my lips up. Yeah, sure. I did all that stuff. But when it's from the same people, Johnson & Johnson, I don't know if this will get you in trouble, but J&J, who have been nailed for lawsuits for carcinogens in their products, and Pfizer has a fraud lawsuit that they paid out in the billions. I mean, why would you want to inject anything from these people that hasn't been tested? You know what I mean? Why?
Social pressure, baby. Yeah, gotta do it for the gram. Gotta do it so you don't get weird looks, you know, which is wild. It's so, I feel so badly for women who've miscarried because of this, because they got duped.
They really did. A number of people have written me saying that their nurse practitioner and or OBGYN has taken them aside and said, please don't get this if you want to have children.
Yeah. Even me, I'm like, I have the one egg down there just clinging on, like, no. And I'm like, all right, I got you, Eggie. Where can people find you and follow you? I know you mentioned your Instagram, but if they want to join, if they live in, if maybe they're a neighbor of yours and they want to join the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. So I primarily operate off of Instagram. I go through my DMs quite a bit and try to stay in contact with people who message me. I also have a Telegram that I go to if I'm being shadow banned, but there is a community within so if you go to my bio, you can go to the link tree, and then there's various different ways. I have an email address even on there, which is kind of a creepy email address, is Vampire Gardens. I don't know why. I chose that because I had watched what's it called? The vampire movies back in the I was in that vampire mentality phase. But also that is Hollywood, so there you go. So that's a good place to contact me, and through that link tree up there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. You're just like a joy and a delight to talk to, and Arizona is lucky to have you living there.
Thank you. Thank you so much for what you're doing and giving me the opportunity to share, this fight with you.
No, you're great. You give so many people strength, myself included. So it was good to chat. We'll stay in touch.
Great. Okay, excellent. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Bye.